After Raj, Ahlawat is arrested for the murder of Ashok Huda, Meet Huda's father. Meet Ahlawat gets angry at Meet and gives her two options. One, quit her job as a police officer or leave the Ahlawat mansion forever. What decision will Meet take? Meanwhile, Isha discovers truth that can help free Raj from jail. What will she do with this information? Make sure you watch this video to the very end to get the complete details. Now with that said, let's get into the video. Our Singh brings out handcuffs and says let's begin the investigation. Meet Ahlawat holds Hawa Singh's hands and stands in front of him and says my dad is innocent, so I won't allow you to touch him. Hawa Singh says you are standing in between an investigation. Let us do our work. Meet Ahlawat says I don't care about your investigation or work. I know my dad is innocent and he won't move a step. If you want, you can take me, but nobody will touch my dad. Hawa Singh shouts, what are you looking at? Arrest him. Everyone from the Ahlawat family comes forward and makes a wall to protect Raj. Meet takes a step forward. Meet Ahlawat shouts at her and says stay where you are. Babita scolds Meet. Raj says to Babita, stop, and says you have talked a lot, now everyone will listen to the truth. The truth is that I committed a crime, so I will be punished and I accept this punishment. Everyone says Raj, we know it's not true. Meet Ahlawat says don't say anything, nobody will be able to touch you. Raj says I can kill myself for you to believe, but now let me do what is right. Everyone tries to stop him. Babita says why are you lying? I know that you cannot do this. Ram remembers what Raj said about him not doing anything for this case and hugs him. Raj walks to Meet and says obey your duty. Arrest me on charges of murdering your father and gives her his hands for handcuffs. Hawa Singh orders Meet to arrest the culprit. Meet holds Raj's hand and takes it down. Everyone holds the constable's hands. Babita says you cannot take him. Raj asks everyone not to go against the law. The constable handcuffs Raj. Raj asks Ram, Meet Ahlawat and tells to take care of everyone when I am gone. The police takes Raj with him. Everyone is crying and tries to stop him. Meet is standing behind crying. Meet Ahlawat is in jail and says to Raj, I won't let you live here for a single moment. He walks to the inspector and says you are misusing your powers. He says you cannot keep my dad in lockup. I told you my lawyer is coming. Inspector says listen, whatever we are doing is according to the law and the law is the same for everyone. The lawyer walks to Meet Ahlawat. Meet Ahlawat says give him bail papers and bring dad out of the lockup. The lawyer says it is not possible because the court has rejected the bail application. Your father has been arrested for murdering a police officer. It is a serious offense. He says they won't leave him because after 4 years, they got evidence for this case. Meet Ahlawat shouts every police officer is misusing power and starts throwing things. The inspector shouts at him and tells him to maintain silence. He is already in trouble, so don't make things more difficult for him. Meet walks to Meet Ahlawat. Meet Ahlawat says, I will also see how long you can keep my dad inside. He takes keys of lockup and says I won't leave without him. Everyone tries to stop him. The inspector says I can put you in lockup for misbehaving in the police station. He asks Meet Ahlawat to go stand somewhere else and asks everyone else to leave. He says I am respecting you because you are a husband of an efficient police officer and I respect Rajvardhan. Hawa Singh calls Abi Rana and says things are happening in your favor. Thank God Sharma's assistant got the pen drive and gave it to me. Abi Rana praises him for his work and says you will get a prize for your job. Hawa Singh thanks him and disconnects the call. Meet Ahlawat shouts and says I won't leave without my dad. Meet says to him shouting in the police station is a criminal offense. Meet Ahlawat says keeping an innocent person in jail is also a crime. Shanti says to Abi Rana, let's consider Raj accept the crime, but you are also in that video. What about that? Abe says I was in the video, but no one knows. Only we both know I fired the shots and not Ram Ahlawat. You live in modern society. Haven't you heard of face morphing? Hawa Singh did face morphing on the video before going to arrest Raj. He told me that he got a pen drive for testing and that Raj sacrificed himself for his brother. Shanti says you are feeling bad for them. Abe says this is called politics. Shanti says what is our benefit in this? Abe says now everyone will hate Meet and Meet Ahlawat will break his relationship with her. And Babita already doesn't like her, so she will be enemy number 1 in the family and this will crush her hope. Isha hears everything and says I need to tell Meet everything so she can help Raj come out of jail. Meet Ahlawat is sitting on the floor in the police station. Meet walks to Raj. Raj asks her to look at Meet Ahlawat. Meet turns to him. He says now I'll step out of this police station only when my dad is with me. Raj calls Meet Alavat and says, "You promised me that you will take care of everyone in the family. If you are put in jail, how will you help them?" He says, "Your mom is already not well. If she gets worse, then what will you do? So go back." Meet Alavat says, "You gave me the responsibility of mom and her house, so I'll go. But I won't sit quietly until you are out of jail. Don't worry, I'll get you out of jail soon," and leaves. Meet stops him and says, "Don't worry about him. I am here to handle that." Meet Alavat says, "First you put him in jail and now making me an emotional fool. So please stop playing with my emotions, Inspector Huda. And listen, that man in there is my father, so stop calling him father too." Meet says he is my father too. Meet Alavat says he is inside there because of you. Meet says, "I told you earlier." Meet Alavat tells her to keep quiet and says, "I know who you really are, so don't say anything else." Meet says, "Did you forget that you promised me at that cliff that you won't stop believing me and never doubt me? So why did you stop believing in me so soon?" Meet Alavat says, "There is a reason, and it is because of you. Everything happening today is your fault, and this time everything is your fault." Meet says, "Your problem is when you are angry, you don't listen at all. That is why telling you anything now is a waste." Meet Alavat walks away. Meet Alavat walks into the Ahlawat mansion and sees Tej, Sunaina, Masum and Hoshia sitting on the sofa. Masum and Tej walks to meet Alavat and asks where is dad. Meet Ahlawat says, "I was unable to bring him back, but don't worry, I'll bring him back soon." Masum says, "What about mom? She has locked herself up and she is not eating anything." Meet Ahlawat asks them to go get food for mom. Babita is in her room. Meet Ahlawat walks to her with a plate of food. Masum, Sunaina, Tej and Hoshia walks to her. Sunaina asks her, "What have you done to yourself?" Babita says, "My happiness, my smile and my getting ready was all for Raj. And when he is not around, why do I have to get ready?" Meet Ahlawat says, "Dad has asked me and Tej to take care of you. And if you don't allow, how will we face dad? So please have food." Tej says, "Mom, not for us, but for dad. Please eat something." Babita says Raj must not have eaten yet. He hasn't had his medicine. If he misses his medicine, then he will fall sick. Meet gives Raj his medicine in jail. Raj says, "You give this special treatment to all prisoners." Meet says, "Only those who are innocent." Raj says, "I am not innocent." Meet says, "We will see that, and I am sorry you have to spend the night here." Raj says to Meet, "Give me my confession letter, let me sign." Meet says, "This is what you have written. Abirana's sister fell in love with a driver and wanted to marry, and you didn't like it and took them to a jungle to kill them. Then Ashok Huda came there, and in argument you shot Ashok Huda." Raj says, "Yes, now let me sign." Meet tears the paper. Raj says, "You broke the law." Meet says, "Yes, it is, and I will be punished for this," and so is giving false confession. Meet says, "Your behavior and your statement does not match at all. I have already lost one father, and I cannot lose another one." Isha says, "I have to think of something to save Raj," and sees Shanti lying on sofa wearing a face mask. She takes her phone and leaves. Isha is about to make a call, but Shanti holds her hand and says, "How dare you take the phone without my permission?" Abirana walks to them and asks what happened. Isha shouts at Shanti and says to Abe, "I will go to the police station and tell them Raj didn't kill anyone." Abe asks Isha, "What will you tell them? That Raj didn't kill Ashok. But what will you say when they ask who killed Ashok?" Isha says, "I know my father is not a murderer." Abe says, "I can understand, but the police won't. What if police keeps your father in jail for hiding evidence? Raj is in the jail, so let him stay there." Sunaina goes to meet Ahlawat and tells him that Meet is entering the house. Meet Ahlawat walks downstairs and stops Meet at the door and says, "Listen, Inspector Huda, this is my house and my family lives here. There is no place for outsiders who put my dad in jail. I don't want to argue with you at all. There is no place for you here, so it is better you leave." Ragini says this is not right. Babita says he is doing the right thing and she deserves this. Meet says, "I know you are angry, but let me come in." Meet Ahlawat says, "I don't want to close the door on your face, so it is better you leave now," and throws her luggage out. Masum says to Meet, "Can't you hear what brother is saying? Just leave, there is no place for you in this house." Meet looks at her luggage and picks it up and says, "I am not going anywhere from this house." Meet says if anyone has the strength, then I dare him to ask me to leave this house. She says this is your house and I am your wife, and after marriage, I have the same rights on everything here as you have, and so I will stay here. Meet Ahlawat says, "Okay, you want to leave? Come inside, but as a daughter-in-law and not as an inspector. If you want to stay here, you have to leave your job. He brings papers and says Inspector Meets will resign from her post. He says choose whether you want to be daughter-in-law of Ahlawat or Inspector Huda. Meet takes the paper and writes, I am not going anywhere. Meet Ahlawat says, so you want to leave. Meet says, why do I have to sacrifice all the time? Whenever someone does something wrong, I always have to prove myself. I proved at the time of my sister. We both got married even when I didn't want to. If anyone makes mistake in this house, they are never treated like me. I had to fight to get a job too. I have all the rights and I don't have to prove anything to anyone. Don't treat me like cattle. Whenever you want, you can show me out. You don't have right to kick me out. Meet picks up her bags and walks into the mansion. Babita says you are entering this house because you couldn't enter anyone's heart. Don't call me mother because you have lost that right. And asks Miss Oliver to tell her I don't want to see her face at all because she doesn't exist to me. Babita faints. So guys, that is it for today's update. How the Ahlawats will start treating Meet with hatred because of Raj's arrest. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and also leave a comment below. You can check out this channel for more updates on your favorite Zeeworld series and celebrities. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.